Hi there, QuickBooks experts. I hope all is well, and I pray that as you are viewing this video, that you're in the best of health and spirit. This video will cover Chapter 4, Recording Operating Activities, Sales, and Cash Receipts from QuickBooks Online Accounting 2025. So upon completion of this chapter, you should be able to do the following. Add a new service, product, and customer, record a sales receipt, record an invoice for services rendered on account, record an invoice for products sold on account, record cash receipts. So this is essentially whereby you provided a service or you sold a product and the payment was received, or maybe you provided the service and sold the product and the customer did not yet pay you and now they're paying you after the fact. So we'll record cash receipts. We will deposit payments received on account. And lastly, we'll learn how to prepare trial balances and transaction detail by account reports. So in Chapter 3, we had the opportunity to modify the company settings. We added new accounts to the chart of accounts and added beginning balances where appropriate. So this is essentially where maybe it's not a brand new company. The company has, maybe they used a different software to track their accounting. Maybe they use QuickBooks Desktop, which is not necessarily the same as QuickBooks Online, same company, but they're not integrated. So there was already company activity that needed to be incorporated. Hence, we needed to add those beginning balances. We also added customers, vendors, products, and services, and closed the opening balance equity account. As we know in accounting, our revenue, our expense, and our dividend accounts are temporary accounts. So what that means is that at the end of every year, whether it is a calendar year or a fiscal year, we close those amounts and the balances are transferred to our retained earnings account when we're dealing with the corporation. And in this chapter, we're going to add operating activities like sales receipts, invoices, and cash receipts. Specifically, we'll be recording operating activities such as adding new services, new products, new customers, new sales receipts, new invoices, and new cash receipts to the Wild Water Sports Company. And at the end of the chapter, you're essentially going to reinforce what was learned by using the case 1 assignment. So in this section, we're going to add new services, products, and customers. And in order to add new services and products, we're going to access the product and services section using the gear icon. As mentioned in previous videos, there's more than one way to do the same thing in QuickBooks. So this is the gear icon. We can access the products and services under lists, or we can open the dashboard. We can go to sales and go to products and services. You can use help, type in products and services, or you can even use the search bar, right? But we're going to follow along based on a book, but I just want you to know there's more than one way to do something in QuickBooks Online. So we go to products and services. And as we know, to add customers, we're going to go to the customers menu in the navigation bar. So this is our navigation bar. We go to sales, and then from there, we can find our customers. So it's saying navigate your browser to the video tutorial. So in the event that you ever need help with something, there are links that can be utilized, and there are video tutorials that are provided. So it's asking you to sign into your QBO account. I am already signed in. So the first thing it wants us to do is to click reports. So I'll open a navigation bar. I click reports, then go to custom reports. So these are essentially the reports that we've saved. So it's asking to open the trial balance. So I click on it, open the trial balance, and we want to make sure that everything is correct essentially. So what we do is double check to make sure that everything ties with what's in the book. So we see our checking account of 25,000, accounts receivable of 70,000, the inventory asset, prepaid expenses and equipment. These are all debited and the balances are correct and our total is correct. So we're good to go. Next, we look at our credited accounts. We have equipment accumulated depreciation. We have accounts payable, long-term business loans, common stock. Our opening balance equity is 0 because it was closed. And lastly, our retained earnings. So we double checked and made sure all of the numbers tie. Our trial balance is good to go. So we have a solid foundation for us to keep building. So now we go to our products and services. Again, you can go to the gear icon. I'm going to do this way since it's easier. So we go to sales, products and services. It's going to lead us to the same place. So here it asks us to click new in the upper right corner. So I click new. It's going to be a new service. And the name of the service is going to be cleaning. And then it wants us to check, I sell this product service to my customers. So it wants us to enter this in the name and description boxes. So I also input this here. So it says, I sell this product to my customer. We have this checked and the price rate is going to be $500. And then here we see we're selecting the service revenue as the income account. That is already selected. And it's asking us to edit sales tax. So as you know, QuickBooks Online is an online program and it's ever so often changing. So now it doesn't show us to edit, sales tax. This is going to be done later on down the line. So we're pretty much good to go from there. So we save and add new. Or what you can do is save and close and then create new, same thing. So it wants us to create a new item. And in this case, it's going to be an inventory item. So we type in the name and it's the TIG 25ZX. And then here we scroll down, it says type 0 in the initial quantity on hand text. So it's 0 and it is as of January 1st, 2027. And then it wants us to select inventory as the inventory asset account. So we already have an inventory asset, so we're good to go on that. And then we type tag 25 in the description and purchasing information. So we scroll down. So tag 25ZX. So we sell it for $225,000. And here we type it again. So, I mean, we could do it. They have it kind of backwards, but so tag 25X. So that's the name of the information. The sales price is here and then the cost is here. So what I would do, and then it lets you know the account. So I would just, input the information from one thing at a time. So tag 25ZX, which is here. The sales price is the 225,000 and the sales is the income account. So I would update that. And then we have the tag 25ZX. The purchase price is 180,000. Have an extra 0. And then the expense account is cost of goods sold. That was already there. All right. And then is it asking us for the category? This would be boats. So you just want to make sure that all of the information was essentially input. So we have the tag 25. It's an inventory item. The category is boat. Initially, they had 0 on hand as of January 1st, 2027. We have our inventory account. We have tag 25ZX. The price rate is 225,000 and the boats, as you can see, is up here as the category. We are selling it for 225,000 and all income will go into the sales account. We are purchasing it for 180,000 and the expense account is cost of goods sold. And again, with the sales tax, that will be set up. It doesn't tell us anything about who we're purchasing it from. Let's double check. All right, so then we are good to go. We select save and close. So now we see the information here. We see the tag 25 is showing 0. It's out. We have the Malibu Sportster LX, the Malibu Sunset, and we have cleaning. All right. And then we have some other things that we've set up. So now it's asking us to click sales from the navigation bar. So we're actually going to sell something for the first time. So we go to sales, we go to customers, and then we're going to be adding a new customer. So we select new customer, and then we start to input their name. So we have James, his first name, and we have Rogers. We have the email address as jrogers@gmail.com. We have the phone number as 805-588-1234. And then in a company name, it states to type Performance Rentals. All right, and let's see. So we scroll down. All right. So we typed in the Performance Rentals, customer display name, and name to print on the check boxes. So let's see, customer display name. So customer display name, it wants to show performance rentals. So what we would essentially do is we would drop down. So even though it's James Rogers, we get the option to choose between the customer display name. Is it going to be the name of the business, the name of the individual, or their last name, then their first name? It wants it to be performance rental. So therefore, we simply select the drop down. And then as it relates to the address, it is going to be 15 Highway 22 in Orlando, Florida. Zip code 32807. And then we are good to go. So we select save. And we have the information for performance rentals. That's the name of the company. The billing address is here. And then we're pretty much good to go. So we scroll down and then it's asking us to edit. Next to the payment section. So it's asking us to select net 30 from the terms box. So here we have terms and net 30. What that simply means is that when we send an invoice, we are expecting to receive payment within 30 days. And generally, if paid within the period, then there is a discount issued. So we updated it for the net 30. We select save. And then now we just have, the customer information. So we go back to our dashboards. All right, for my navigation. So we've had the opportunity to add a new service, we added a new product, and we added a new customer. So again, there's more than one way to access things in QuickBooks. When we want to add the product or service, we go to products and services. And when we want to add a customer in sales, we go to customers. So now we're going to add sales receipts to record cash sales and invoices to record credit sales. So a business uses sales receipt to record sales transactions on a daily basis whenever the payment is received at the same time as a product or service is delivered. Sales invoices are used to record sales transactions when customers are granted credit terms and are given some time to pay after a product or service is delivered. In either case, sales are recorded when the product is sold or service is rendered. So this goes back to the basis of accounting. So we have the cash basis method of accounting and we have the accrual basis method of accounting. So simply stated, cash basis, you only record revenue when it is received and you only record expenses when they are paid for. But if we think about in the everyday, operations of life, that's not how it goes, right? So we have what's called accrual. And what that simply means is that as it relates to revenue, it doesn't matter if the customer pays you before the service or if they pay you after the service. The key thing is you only record revenue when you've actually earned it, when you've actually provided the service. Same concept as it relates to expenses. That simply means that expenses are going to be recorded when they are incurred. It does not matter if they were paid before or paid after. So this goes back to, what I mentioned before as it relates to QuickBooks. It is a powerful program, but if you do not understand the basics of accounting, debits, credits, why certain accounts are debited, why others are credited to show a certain impact, and just understanding the fundamentals of what QuickBooks is ultimately streamlining and doing behind the scenes. Garbage put into QuickBooks is garbage coming out of QuickBooks. So one of the key things is definitely ensuring that you solidify your understanding of the bookkeeping basics. All right, so just quick recap: sales receipts, product is sold, delivered, you receive the cash right away. So this is generally like you go to a restaurant, right? You go to a fast food place. Before they give you the food, you got to pay for it right away, right? So that would be an example of a sales receipt. Sales invoices, that's where the individuals are given time to pay for it, right? So in such case, that would be like, taxes. I have a tax firm and essentially I prepare taxes for clients, and sometimes they'll pay you, a few weeks later or over a period of months. So in such case, they would get an invoice. So to add sales receipts and invoices to the Wild Water Sports Company, we are going to do the following. So we continue from where we left off. I didn't close the program. If you did close the program, then you'll just need to sign back in. So we click new from our navigation bar. So we click new sales receipt, which is under customer. And then here we're going to add a new customer. So it says click plus add new from the customer drop down list. And then we're going to type in the name of the customer. So the name of the customer is South Town Water Sports. The first name. So we have South Town Water Sports. So I'm inputting it in a company name. This is first and last name if there was an individual assigned to the account. So we have Southtown Water Sports is a new customer's company name. Then we select due on receipt from the terms text box. So we scroll down, due on receipt, and then it's asking us to input the information, their address. So the address is 3333 Scott Fruitro Drive. All right, and this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the zip code is 28208. And then we select save. And we change the date to 01/04/2027. We select check from the payment method. And 6985 is the reference number. And in here is asking us to select payments to deposit from the deposit drop down text box. So we have payments to deposit. So the check will be recorded in a payments to deposit account as deposits for this company are made every other day. So when we scroll down on line 1 of the sales receipt, we select the Malibu Sportster LX. So we can select it from the drop down, or we could even type it in. So Malibu Sportster and the products and services, we type 1 in the quantity, and we know that the rate is 52,000 and the amount is 52,000. So now we scroll down, we need to add the tax. So we set up the automated tax. It's asking us what's the physical location of the business. All right, and now if we go back in the earlier setup for sales tax, this would be in the previous chapter. See if it's here. So here we have the address. It is 5500 East Colonial Drive, Orlando, Florida. And the zip is 32807. So we save and continue. And then we close. All right, so this is going to require us to input it again, but not a problem. We know exactly what we need to do. All right, so here we are. We have new sales receipt. We'll run through this quickly since we already set it up. South Watertown Town Sports are here. We changed the date to 01/04/27. The sales receipt number 1001. However, the reference number is 6985. They paid us via check, and we are depositing it to the payments to deposit. And the item is the Malibu Sportster LX for the 52,000. And this is subjected to tax, so we click on that, and then it automatically figures it out. All right, so we've already set it up. And then here's the key thing. If this is unchecked, then no tax is going to apply, but it needs to be taxed. So generally, this does not apply to services. So you want to keep in mind that if something doesn't match, rather, you want to double check why not. So here we see the amounts tied, $55,144. And we scroll down. And then here it's asking us to, click see the math. So if we click on it, we see here that They are subjected to Florida state taxes of 6% and Florida Orange County taxes of 0.50. So the total rate is 6.50. So moving forward, that's been set up, so it'll be a bit easier. So we finished up with that. Now we've saved it. And then now we click on the plus new and we select invoice from customers. All right, and here it's asking if you want to, take a tour, you can feel free, but right now we're just going to go straight to the invoice. We're going to close out of this. This is autofill. So we're going to set up an invoice for performance rentals. The date is January 6, 2027, so we update it. And as it relates to the terms, net 30 is already there, so we're good to go. We updated it to January 6, 2027. The invoice number should show 1002, so we are good to go. So on line 1 of the invoice, we're going to select the Malibu Sports Store, and again, you can select the drop down or you can type it in. Quantity is 1. And on line 2 of the invoice, we're going to type in, Malibu Sunset LX, and then 1 in the quantity. So we press the tab key and we need to make sure, again, because if we don't select it, tax will not apply. So we select tax, so the tax applies to both. And then it wants us to see the math. So again, 118,770. So we click on see the math. We already know what the state sales tax rate is. So we're pretty much good to go. We close that. And then we see that the amounts tie. So we are pretty much good to go. And then we select save and new. So we could save and new. In this case, it's asking to record an invoice for services rendered. So it's telling you to, pretty much close it out. But in this case, we'll select save and new since we are creating another invoice. And in this case, we're going to need to add a new customer. So it says add new in the customer drop down text. So we add new, and the name of the company is Florida Ski School. And then their payment terms are going to be net 30. So we'll scroll down to net 30. And then we have the address, which is 10900 Chase Road. City is Windermere. State is Florida. And the zip code is 34786. And then we select save. So now we have this invoice. And the invoice date is January 10th, 2027. And it's asking us to select diagnostic service. So again, we can choose it from the drop down or we can input it. So diagnostic service. And then it's asking us to type 4 as a quantity. So it automatically selects 1, but in this case it's 4. So we make the update. And then we press tab. So keep in mind, services are not generally, not subjected to taxes. So if you select tax, the tax will apply. But again, because it's a service, it's generally not subjected to tax. So in such case, we select save and close. So now the next thing it wants us to do is to click sales, then select all sales. So we did that. Now close the navigation bar. And as we see here, we have income coming in from Florida School, from performance rentals, from Southtown Water Sports, it was paid, and from Refugio. So we have some from a journal entry, we have some from sales receipt, and we have some from invoice 1002 and 1003. All right. So this gave us some great experience with essentially putting together sales receipts as well as invoices. So now we move on to cash receipts. So in QuickBooks Online, the concept of cash receipts is referred to as receiving payments. So pretty much to record the receipt of payment from a customer, we use the receive payment item in the create menu to record the transaction. Or you can use receive payment from the action column in a customer's list of transactions. The key thing is once the payment is received, it needs to be deposited into the bank account. This is a separate, but it is an important process in QuickBooks Online because if it is not done correctly, then you can potentially overstate income. So to record the receipt of a payment from a customer, we do the following. So we continue where we left off. We didn't sign out. So we open our navigation bar. We select new. We select receive payment under customer. And then we are going to be receiving a payment on behalf of Refugio. The payment date is going to be January 12th, 2027. Our payment method is going to be a check. And we select payments to deposit from the deposit to text box. So payments to deposit. And then here we see that there are some outstanding transactions that are, needing to be taken care of. When we first set up the company, Refugio owed us $70,000. So here we place a checkbox in the journal entry as we see here, and then we select save and close. So we have to recall that when the two payments above were received, they were recorded to an account titled payments to deposit. Now is where we actually need to deposit one of those payments to our bank account and record that deposit into our checking account. So we have our navigation bar open. We select new and we select bank deposit under other. So we have the different columns. We have customers, vendors, team, and other. So under other, we select bank deposit. And then for the account, we select checking. So we select checking as the account we're depositing to. We input the date, January 12th, 2027, which is already there. So we're good to go. We select the payment received from Southtown Water Sports. And we also going to make sure all of the information is correct. So Southtown Water Sports, it was a sales receipt. They gave us a check, reference number 6985. So $55,145. So we are good to go and we select save and close. So you can select save and new, or you can choose save and close. So in Wild Water Sports, in the cases found at the end of each chapter, we're going to be asked to create a trial balance report as of a certain day. So thus far, it's been asking us to create it as of January. In such cases, maybe it'll ask you for February, but the key thing is that you want to make sure that the numbers tie. So you're going to compare your trial balance report with the one provided in the case to see if you've correctly recorded the various business events, the activities, the payments, the purchases, the money coming in. So if your trial balance differs, you're going to need to fix your errors, because if a foundation of a home is not sturdy, you run the risk of that building that structure eventually crumbling. The same thing. If your trial balance at the end of Wild Water Sports and at the end of the case assignments do not match, something is wrong. You cannot just keep working. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. So an unusual explanation for an incorrect trial balance report is recording a transaction in an incorrect period, not recording it at all, or you recorded it incorrectly. And in order to investigate, you'll need to create a transaction detail by account report for a specific period. And you can create such a report for all transactions to see if yours were recorded in the proper period and to see where you may have entered a wrong amount or account. So we're continuing from earlier. We click reports, we click custom reports, and we select the trial balance. And we type in the dates as of 1/1/2027 to 1/13/2027. We click run report. So now when we run this report, we see here that as of January 13th, our checking account should have $80,145. Our accounts receivable should have $120,770. So the first thing you can do to double check to make sure that the balance is tied, you can double check the bottom line. So total debits and total credits are correct, but just because total debits and credits are correct doesn't necessarily mean things were done correctly. So you also want to double check line by line or account by account to make sure that things are essentially correct. So in this case, everything ties up. We are pretty much good to go. So the next thing it asks us is to click reports, then click custom reports tab and select the transaction by detail account. So we go back to our custom reports, transaction by detail account. And this basically, ties in everything. We click in the report period, and then it's asking us to change it from custom to all dates. We run the report, And then we essentially see everything that has taken place, the deposit to check-in, the 2 deposits to check-in, the accounts receivable, and things of that nature. So all of these things essentially help us to make sure that things are being recorded the right way. So it's asking us to save the customization. So we save it. And then here it's asking to print, so you can feel free to print. Again, you can also export it. So there's more than one thing that you can do in QuickBooks to basically save it. So you can print it here. You can print it to a PDF. You can export it to an Excel or export it to a PDF. You can also email it. All right. So we're pretty much good to go. As mentioned, you always want to verify that your trial balance and transaction detail by account reports match what is shown in the text. Again, the main thing is it helps to identify and correct errors, if any. So this brings us to the end of chapter 4. So we've now learned how to add a new customer, add a new product and a service. We've also learned how to record a sales receipt, how to record invoices, and also how to record payments received from a customer. And we also learned how to deposit to a bank account. So these are considered operating activities, and additional operating activities related to purchases and cash payments we are going to learn more about in chapter 5.